A tough schedule and a disappointing season for South Carolina in 2023. You look at 2024, and the schedule really just doesn't get much easier. We're going to go through and give you game by game predictions. But first, just some thoughts on this South Carolina team. We'll start with the defense because I actually think the defense is going to be pretty solid. They're not super deep on defense, but you look at their starters. This actually has a chance to be, I think, maybe a top half defense in the SEC. So I'm not too concerned about that area. Depth, again, might be an issue as the season wears on, but offense is where I'm concerned. At the line of scrimmage, on the offensive line, there is not a lot of talent there. Wide receiver, pass catcher, tight end, tight end looks pretty good, but wide receiver is a concern. They will have to go to those tight ends, I think, a lot probably, but Lenore Sellers at quarterback, really unproven, and I really don't know what we're going to get from him. So the passing game overall, I think, is going to struggle. You look at Rocket Sanders coming in from Arkansas. Can he get back to his old ways as being a really good running back in the SEC? Potentially, but there's just a lot of question marks. There is potential, again, for South Carolina to be a decent team, but then there's also potential for them to really struggle if that offense can't get it going. So let's go through the schedule now. First of all, Vegas, they have the over-under win total at 5.5. You look at the schedule and you try to find 6 wins. It's going to be tough. They're going to have to pull off at least a couple of upsets. And I'm going to kind of go through these predictions a little bit quicker now. We've done over half the teams, so we've already talked about most of these, or at least over half of these games. But I do think they'll beat Old Dominion. The next week they play Kentucky. Now, I don't think South Carolina is way below Kentucky. I think they're just a little bit below them in terms of tiers in the SEC. So that would be a winnable game for them, and might be a game that I'd pick them to win if they were at home. But going on the road, second game of the season, and then again a very inexperienced quarterback, it's hard for me to pick South Carolina. So I think Kentucky wins, fairly low scoring game here, but that's going to go to the Wildcats. LSU the next week, too much offense. South Carolina not going to be able to keep up there. I think that's a loss. They should bounce back and beat Akron. So a 2-2 start for this team as they then get into the stretch here in the SEC. They get a bye week, but then it's Ole Miss, Alabama, Oklahoma, Texas A&M. Actually get another bye week before Texas A&M, but still, it's a tough stretch. Ole Miss, similar to LSU, just way too much offense. I don't see South Carolina scoring, being able to really keep up with them at all. And an Ole Miss defense, it should be better this year. So I don't really see the Ole Miss or LSU games being competitive at all. I think those are blowouts. You got Alabama on the road on October 12th. Crimson Tide, going to be solid on defense. We'll see what Jalen Milroe looks in this new offense, but just way too much talent. This game shouldn't be close. Another blowout. So I think 3 of their first 4 losses probably do come as blowouts. But again, I think they'll be more competitive against Kentucky. Oklahoma the next week on the road, October 19th. Going to be a really good defense. Maybe South Carolina's defense can keep them in this game and keep it a little bit lower scoring, similar to that Kentucky game, but it's going to be tough, and I just don't see them, especially on the road. Maybe this is one of those they can at least keep it close for a half, but I think Oklahoma will pull away in the second half. All right, next game is at home against Texas A&M after a bye week. This is your opportunity. I mean, you look at, Kentucky is a possible win. I'm not going to say they can't win that game, but you look at LSU, Ole Miss, Alabama, Oklahoma. I wouldn't say it right now. I'd be shocked if South Carolina won any of those games. It would be a huge upset. But you look at Texas A&M, a game that they can win. They'll have an opportunity here playing at home. Texas A&M team that's going to be pretty good and will be more talented than South Carolina, but not a huge margin. So I think Carolina probably hangs around in this game. But at the end of the day, I still think Texas A&M is just a better team, and I think their offense will be able to score, and South Carolina's won't. And I think that's really what's going to hurt them this year. And so I'm going Aggies, but a closer game. All right, they got Vanderbilt next on the road. This is a game they can win. It's a game that they might could even lose. Vanderbilt is not going to be very good, but again, South Carolina doesn't have the type of talent where they can just show up and win. So it'll be a hard-fought game, probably at least for a half. But yeah, South Carolina should not lose this game. Their offense should be able to score against a bad Vanderbilt defense, and their defense should pretty much shut down the Vandy offense. So they get a win there over Vanderbilt. Then you get to Missouri here on the 16th, and it's going to be just like that LSU the LSU and Ole Miss games. Just too much offense. They're not going to be able to keep up, and their defense is not good enough to slow down these high-powered offenses. Yeah, they're going to have a good defense, pretty solid, but they're still going to give up 30-plus points, I think, in these games, maybe more than that. So yeah, that's the problem. I just don't see them being able to score. I think they lose. and then they get a win over Wofford next. And then they'll close things out with rival Clemson on the road. Obviously going to be a tough environment. That rivalry, always a fun one. And I think Clemson just is the better team. They're more talented both sides of the ball, plus the game being on the road. I just don't see South Carolina winning this one. So we're going to go with Clemson there, and South Carolina finishes off 4-8. Again, you look at that over-under at 5.5. I could definitely see them going 5-7. I think they might pull off a win. Maybe against Texas A&M, maybe against Kentucky, somewhere on there. Maybe they pull off an upset, but it's going to be tough. And when it comes down to actually picking these individual games, I just couldn't pick them to win one of those. So I'm going 4-8 for South Carolina. What are your predictions for the Gamecocks? Let me know down in the comments below.